You're watching College Football Now. We're going to break down the first semifinal game between Alabama and Notre Dame. Harrison Graham, James Yoder here. The college football playoff is set, so let's go ahead and focus on this first matchup. The Fighting Irish get in. They're the number 4 seed. They take on the number 1 seed Alabama at AT&T Stadium in Arlington.
17.5-point favorites Alabama are. We should look up, have the stats and research team do. I wonder if that's the biggest spread in a semifinal, right? It's got to be up there,
maybe
right?
Bama-Washington that one year.
Could have been.
The Michigan State year maybe. That's pretty big, though. 17.5. I think that's the exact spread they were favored against Florida in the SEC title game on Saturday night as well. So that's a pretty wide margin, and quite frankly, I like Bama in the points, if I'm being honest.
Oh, for sure. I said earlier that if it's a 20-point spread or less, I'm betting Alabama the second I can. Albert Breer had a pretty interesting text. Shows Notre Dame's futility in big-time bowl matchups, right? The last 20 years. And there was a time, Harrison, I think it was, probably in the mid-2000s where it was like Alabama or Notre Dame hasn't won a bowl game in 15-plus years. And then you show, and that's any bowl game, let alone the high-level bowl games you're seeing here on screen. A lot of futility, a lot of losses to Alabama, to Ohio State, to Clemson, some of the best programs in college football. But they've got some problems when it comes to showing up on the biggest stage.
Notre Dame's the ultimate. They can get to the big game,
Yep.
but they can't win the big game because they just don't have the talent that these other teams do. They're very good, but they're not elite status like the Bamas, the Clemsons, the Ohio States of the world. So we'll break this matchup down a little bit more in depth as we go here, but we want to get your thoughts in here first. Who you got? Type Bama for Alabama, type ND for the Fighting Irish. It's pretty simple for me. I'm rolling Tide in this one, and I'm not sure it's going to be competitive.
You know what's interesting about this Alabama team is when the year ended last year, this is a funny little stat here. In 2020, the current year we're in, Michigan was leading Alabama at halftime in a football game, right? So think about that for a second, right? Michigan was leading Alabama in the Citrus Bowl at halftime. I left that game, and I saw what Alabama was losing with Tua, with Jerry Jeudy, with Henry Ruggs, with some other players that they lost in the last year's NFL draft, and saying, this is the one year that the rest of college football has to hop on and take down Nick Saban. And then Najee Harris decided to come back, and then Mac Jones turns into be
a Heisman
Trophy candidate. And frankly, him, Jalen Hurts, Tua, they were all on the roster together 2 years ago. That it's crazy to think that Mac Jones might be the only one of those 3 guys that actually wins the Heisman, where they all ended up. Tua in 2018 was your runner-up, and then Jalen Hurts was your runner-up last year in 2019, right, at Oklahoma. So that is a pretty interesting thing to think about. Let's take a look at these quarterbacks, though, Harrison. You got Mac Jones, 76% passing completion in his first year as a starter. Frankly, when they played Michigan in that bowl game last year, he was the only reason I thought Michigan might have a chance, because I'm thinking, who is this 3-star bum that they've got playing? I've never even seen him take a snap. Nevertheless, comes out in 11 games, 3,700 yards, 32 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. But on the other side, though, you've got Ian Book, 64%, 2,600 yards, but not nearly the eye-popping stats.
Yeah, Book is more of the controlled quarterback where take care of the football, don't force situations, whereas Mac Jones, he's throwing the deep ball. He's got Devontae Smith. He's got weapons everywhere. He's launching it down the field. And you love the story of a guy like Mac Jones because he could have transferred, right? Like, he was kind of buried on the depth chart, like you said, gets his chance last year, plays well enough down the stretch, but there was still chatter. Bryce Young, he may come in, he may start. Mac Jones is probably the best quarterback in college football this year and throughout the whole season. Now, Trevor Lawrence, better prospect, all that stuff, but he could win the Heisman. It's a great story for what he's been able to accomplish at Alabama, sticking around, perseverance, and putting up a great year here.
I don't know. Has there been any talk? Will he go pro or will he come back? Like, he's a redshirt sophomore.
Redshirt junior, I believe.
Is his third? Okay.
He can come back. Even if he was a senior, he could come back because this year's a free year. I believe he's a junior at Alabama. I think he's going to go pro. He's for sure a day 2 pick at this point.
This is his 4th season. You're right. He was a 2017 prospect.
Second, third round. A lot. His weapons are all leaving. I would go now while the iron is hot, and maybe he sneaks into round 1. Teams are always trying to draft
I don't even know if it's going to be sneak in. I probably think he'll be a first-round pick just because of the pedigree, just because of the production here on the field at Alabama in the 2020 season. Make sure you guys, though, are productive during the holiday season. Hook up your friends, your family, even yourself with a Fanatics gift card. It is the only place to buy sports gear online. Fanatics is our sponsor of the college football now and the college football playoff rankings. Go to chatsports.com/gift card to get a gift card. You can do it electronically. Send it right to the person, print it off, and hand it to them, putting it in a stocking stuffer. But what will they do with it, Harrison? They'll get awesome shoes. They'll get awesome gear from Fanatics. Hoodies, hats, polos, and the stuff, I swear, every time I look, all the best stuff is always on sale. So don't pay full price with Nike. Go to Fanatics, use chatsports.com/gift card to support the show, and of course, to support your happiness on Christmas morning when you hook up a friend, family member, or give yourself a little self-Christmas present. Now, impact player here is Najee Harris, a guy who in a lot of ways feels like he has been there for 9 years at Alabama, I swear, because he was getting impact, top-level recruit, then getting, high-level plays as a true freshman, right?
He's kind of the forgotten man in this offense, too, which is hard to believe with how dominant he's been. I mean, look at the 24 touchdowns for a running back in a shortened year. Usually Bama would have 13 games by now, only 11 this year. That's more than 2 per game in an era when throwing the football is really the story.
And this is really the only time in his college football career he has been the feature back, the main guy. He's always split carries. We looked at it, you said 2 years ago, hell, Josh Jacobs wasn't even starter. Now he's a top-level NFL running back. Yet, despite that, Harrison, he has broken the Alabama record, most touchdowns in Alabama football history. But this man, DeVonta Smith, is my Heisman winner personally. In an 11-game season, 98 catches, including 15 yesterday, 17 touchdowns, 1,500 yards, and 15 yards per carry, Harrison. What a fans who watch Alabama, what do we get from this guy?
I want this guy to win the Heisman. He's unbelievable. He's improved his draft stock a ton. He would have been a high-round pick last year, but he wasn't eligible to go pro, I don't believe, so he came back and had just a fantastic season, stepped up in a major way once Jalen Waddle, which many believed was their better receiver, they were like, oh, now you can just double DeVonta Smith and you can slow this offense down. Nope, 1,500 yards, 17 touchdowns, absolutely phenomenal season. If this was a full season with the 2 playoff games, he could push for 2,000.
He would definitely put for 2,000. If it was a full SEC season, 2 playoff games, you get to 15 games there. So that's 4 more games. Yeah, that would definitely be a 2,000 season. He'd probably have 24, 25 touchdowns. I mean, he's been going at 1.5, 2 touchdowns a game. It's no doubt about that.
And he's the best punt returner in America.
Yeah, and a couple of those extra games would have been games against lower competition. They wouldn't have been top SEC schools. So he might have got 200 yards, 3 touchdowns in the first half. So ask you guys this question. Who should win the Heisman Trophy? A lot of folks are saying it's going to come down to Alabama's Mac Jones or DeVonta Smith. Najee Harris made a play for
Trevor
last
Lawrence
night.
Is in the mix.
Trevor Lawrence.
I think Kyle Trask is out at this point since they lost their last 2 games. I want to see Smith win it.
So do I.
A receiver, I think that's awesome. That's what I want to see. There's 2 or 3 worthy candidates, but I am voting for DeVonta Smith. Let us know who you guys think should win the Heisman Trophy.
And while you're commenting, while you are letting us know on the Heisman Trophy, subscribe to the channel. The more subscribers we get on college football videos, the more videos we can put out. Sometimes this channel gets too many NFL and NBA videos, Harrison, because that's where the audience has told us they're coming from. But days like today, college football fans can let their voice be known. You're not a third-tier sport where we come from, so we want to put out more videos for you guys. So make sure to subscribe. Trust me, it really helps out if you want more quality college football content here on YouTube from Chat Sports. Let's take a look at the other semifinal just momentarily, Harrison. It is Ohio State, Clemson, for the 2nd year in a row, the 3rd time they're facing each other in the college football playoff era, in the semifinal. Clemson's won the prior 2 matchups. Last year, this was a great game that came down to really the last play, kind of, Justin Fields, miscommunication with his wide receiver, throws an interception in the end zone. Ohio State probably outplayed them last year. But didn't get the victory. Ohio State fans still are complaining about it, much like Michigan fans. JT Short was short. They're complaining about the refs and everything that happened last year.
We'll have a deeper in-depth preview of this game on the channel, but I wanted to show this just as part of this chunk as well, because the winner of Bama Notre Dame will obviously play the winner of this game. And that game will be the more anticipated matchup, Clemson and Ohio State. But the focus here is Alabama Notre Dame. Can Notre Dame do anything to get this into the 4th quarter competitive? That's your goal if you're Notre Dame, right? Get to halftime, not out of the game, and just hope a couple of things bounce your way in the second half and you can steal one, because they're a major underdog. 17.5 points in a college football playoff game, that is massive, and I don't think if anything, I would say it could be a couple points higher. I think Alabama's that good, and I think Notre Dame's that limited at times, unfortunately, for the Fighting Irish.
I want to ask you guys, predict the score between these 2 teams, Alabama and Notre Dame, down in the comments or here in the YouTube live chat. Alabama, Notre Dame. Give us a score prediction. We'll pin this comment below the video as well for those of you watching it later. Alabama, Notre Dame. Harrison, you gave your score 48-17.
48-17.
I believe I said 45-17, but we want to know from you guys. Alabama, Notre Dame, predict the score.